And welcome, this is Rob from JVBroker.com, and in today's little video I want to share a real-life customer story. For some reason that's one of the most often asked questions that we are getting. Please share some stories about your customers. Please tell us about what you're doing. Please tell us about your experiences in this and that. So here we go. Alright, so here's the backstory. Client approached me. Very wealthy guy, made a lot of money mostly in the late 80s, early 90s, in direct response marketing, golden age of direct response marketing. You would send us letters with whatever products you would offer. People would respond. Incredibly well-run business back then. So I saw some stats from this guy's system. Going back till I think the mid-90s, and there were days where that dude made $300,000 per day doing direct response stuff. Incredible, absolutely incredible. Had a huge staff, just had his own print shop, had his own people just doing all the mailing stuff, getting the responses. So really a little factory, direct response factory. But as you can see, I'm talking about printed stuff. That was all back in the days where you would send out physical mail, not sending out email. Now, the problem the guy had was that he was targeting a relatively old customer group. Back in the days, 50, 60 years old. Now, 20 years later, 30 years later, the problem actually was that his customers started to die out. And he, kind of missed the train of that whole internet thing and so on. Never invested in anything online. So the problem was he had a dying business because nowadays direct response marketing, while it still works, doesn't work as well as back in those days. A lot more regulations nowadays. So basically, he had a dying business and he wanted to catch up, basically transform his old direct response marketing business and transform it into a online direct response business of whatever kind. So the first thing we did was we had a look at his assets that he had, and we saw several problems already there. So first of all, what I just mentioned, his existing lists we couldn't quite use because we had a lot of addresses that were out of date. We had phone numbers that were out of date. We had almost no email addresses and anything. So basically we had to start from scratch regarding building a customer list. Even though we had a list of, I think, 2.5 million leads and active leads specifically, so quite incredible. But over the years, they went quite useless, and that's what happens with all lists if you don't nurture them, if you don't mail them often. And there was some large break as well, where those lists haven't been actively mailed for actually a couple of years. Because he wasn't almost retirement, but then found out that just spending money on nice cars and nice houses doesn't do it on the long term. So anyway, he wanted to go back. Lists were dry, as we say, and we had to build new lists. Second thing we noticed also during the asset discovery, very old infrastructure. So that guy had several problems, was running all of his business on, if you're familiar with some technical terms, old IBM AS400 systems, so really old and bulky computers, largely outdated operating system. And then there was another problem. His whole CRM, contact management system, or customer relationship management system, was a mostly custom-built solution. Problem was, at some point he kind of got in a fight with the company or the guy who did most of that work over excessive fees and so on. So basically, what they did, they pulled the plug, said, look, here's the software. We're not going to do anything more, which is fine. The problem was that software was closed code. So he didn't have access to source code. He couldn't do any modification. So basically he was running on a system that locked all his data in, and there was no good way to get it out without really ridiculous amounts of effort. So we said, okay, scrap all that. Let's start from scratch and let's build him a new, let's say, lead generation machine around a newly set up business. So the first step was we had to actually create a, let's say, online business for him, create a product, create the whole technical setup. So what we did was we hired a team. We hired a couple of very experienced direct response copywriters in that particular niche. We hired a few graphic artists that were very experienced in direct response marketing, online direct response marketing in particular. We set up the whole system, which was basically mostly out-of-the-box software, but quite high-profile contact, CRM systems combined with order fulfillment systems in the back, because it was not only online but also partly physical deliveries of both letters and it was little gimmicks that he would send and so on. So first we created the whole setup, and then it was all about lead generation. So we had the goal to, in the first testing stage, generate 60,000 paying customers per month. That was the goal. So we had the goal of generating roughly 15,000 paid leads per week. So how do you generate 15,000 leads per week? That's not something you're gonna do quickly, at least with SEO. So you gotta get into paid traffic. There's several options in paid traffic. We decided to go through agencies, to not do it ourselves, simply because we want to get a quite quick head start to see if this business model is even, if it even makes sense financially. So what we did was we approached several agencies, lead generation agencies that are quite large, that would be able to create even larger amounts of leads on a regular basis, that had experience in the specific market we were in. And basically what we ended up doing is getting co-registration leads. So we basically bought leads that signed up for something in that particular niche he was in, and gave consent to share their email address to be contacted with additional offers. So as you can imagine, 15,000 leads, paid leads was a goal. So we had to generate a couple of more times that and in prospects. And that's something you gotta know if you work with big agencies. It's a guarantee to burn money very, very fast. So if your goal is, hey, we want 15,000 paid leads, we actually found a model with them that we would only pay for those leads that would later convert. That was good, but the price was quite high per lead, as you can imagine. So if you want to get 15,000 leads or more per week, then you have to take a lot of money in your hands to do so. And also you have certain contracts. So you could just kind of chicken out after a couple of thousand leads, but you have to pull through for the amount agreed, which went into several 100,000 leads in our case. And once they flip the switch, then the leads are coming, because they start to get their machinery rolling. And you cannot just pull the plug. So you've agreed to get a certain amount of leads. They're going to do just that, but that means that if you haven't tested everything beforehand and you find out that there are any problems, then it's your problem basically. So they just gonna deliver the leads, and if you're not ready to take them all and to convert them all and to get everything else done, then it's your problem and then it's your money. Now what we quickly found out, and that's very typical, especially when you're going into large amount of leads. When we did the first tests, we did a couple of tests before we really started rolling that larger scale test, where we just bought a couple of thousand leads and just checked the quality, just checked if they would convert and so on. We got pretty good results. We had very high conversion rates. We had very good lead quality, very responsive leads. But then when basically the gates were opened and the floods came in, we quickly realized that the conversion rates dropped pretty dramatically, because they also seem to have more issues of getting those quite targeted leads than they had sold us on, let's put it like that. So we started getting more generic leads, and of course with more generic leads, the quality always sinks, the conversion rate always sinks. So yeah, we had quite some issues there. Also going back and forth with them, of course, then it's a matter of discussing prices, renegotiating, because while we could work with those leads, overall the quality was not as good. So we weren't ready to pay the price we agreed on with them. Key learning for you if you're planning to go on larger scale projects. Always make sure you're testing several agencies. Always be prepared, as I just said, for the amount of traffic coming in. And very important, and that's another learning from that project, have your testing really perfected, because there's nothing worse if you have huge amounts of traffic coming in and you cannot test it properly. You're not set up for testing. You don't have the capacities to test, because in those cases we were talking about, obviously if you're generating a couple of 10,000 leads per month, you got to be sure that you have enough different versions of your product ready. You have enough different versions of your sales letters ready. You're testing different angles and so on and so on. And that all needs to be done at some point. Different graphics need to be tested. Everything needs to be tested. And you have to have those people ready who can create the ads, who can write the copy, who can create the products, and so on and so on. And it doesn't help if you have, let's say, a couple of guys creating the product, or one guy creating the product in particular. And then that guy is off on holidays for 2 weeks and you running a big test, and somebody else is starting to work on that, and then that will always be different. If you work with different people, even if they're doing the same thing, when it comes to testing and when it comes to creating content, stuff will be different just because different people are working on it. And take that into consideration in your planning, and make sure you have everything set up, you have all the people ready, you have all the people blocked. So guys, that's your main task now, nothing else. We're going to test this. We're going to just produce iteration after iteration to get our conversion rates up and to get us as profitable as possible, as quickly as possible, because we're spending a lot of money here. So long story short, we did it for a while. A lot of hard work in that time. It went quite successfully. Unfortunately, and I have to say that, the client pulled out after a while, so we ran this for a couple of months and then stopped the whole project, not because we didn't get profitable. We actually got it profitable, and we could show that there was a scalable business model behind. It was simply that in that case, the client said, "Look, guys, this is not my world anymore. I'm used to the offline world. I'm used to sending letters. I'm used to sending out physical products. I'm used to receiving answers by little coupons people would send in. People sending in cash actually in letters. And this whole online thing is just not my world. The whole email thing is not my world. This is over my head. I don't understand this. I have no clue about the tracking. I don't even understand what code registration is really." So stuff like that. So client basically said, "Look, it's nice. You did a great job, but I have enough money and I don't want to do this anymore." So great project, very interesting to do, but unfortunately not running anymore. Still a great learning also for us, because you don't get to work with those big agencies and with those large scale clients every day, and you don't have people every day who just say, "Okay, look, I have this amount of play money to burn, go ahead." So most clients are more conservative. So that was quite interesting. Quite a lot of learnings we are to the States implementing when we work with similar projects and with clients. So that's it with today's little real life story. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you want to hear more about that, please drop us a note. Make sure to visit our website on JVBroker.com, fill out the form, send us an email, give us a call, whatever you feel like. And if you're happy, we would be very happy to produce more videos like that. And by the way, if you haven't done so, please go to our website and sign up for a webinar. We have created a great little webinar where we talk about exactly all the different steps we go through with all of our clients, starting from analyzing their existing marketing, analyzing existing assets, creating products, creating all the marketing, finding joint venture partners, and so on and so on. We go into really all the details that we're doing. Very interesting. If you've never done anything like that, this will be an eye-opener for you. If you're very experienced, already did this a couple of times, I'm sure you will be finding several aspects that you're missing right now in your business. Because with all of our clients, even the most experienced ones, we always had some aha moments where they said, oh, I have not been doing that. So have a look. It's worth your time, and I would be happy to see you there. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop us a note, and I'll see you in the next video.